Welcome to the Nancy Perspective, where every story is a reminder that life's hardest battles often belong to the kindest hearts. All day today, I've been walking around, and the words are the universe always provides. I have a strong belief in God. Doesn't matter what you believe in, higher power has a beautiful gift when you align with it and you trust the intention of what is about to happen. You just believe. I'm sitting across from Tina Olivero. Did I say that right?
You did.
I
Perfect.
did. This is a big moment for me.
You nailed it.
I nailed it. I nail it when
Tina
the time is
Olivero
right.
from the Olive Tree
From the
Orchards.
Olive Tree Orchards.
Yeah.
And you are a human that when I put my request out for a podcast, that you came to me with your story, and it's a huge story that I want you to say out loud. But then I came here and I started doing what I do best, going around talking to people, asking people questions about who I should have, and your name kept coming up. So it is an honor and a privilege to be sitting here with you today. Thank you for saying yes.
Oh, it's my honor to be here, Nancy. And I think that, have people being able to sit around and have great conversations is what it's all about. Because I kind of I say to myself, what do I want to do in this lifetime? And what do I want to look back on and say, that was great life. And it all came down to one thing: have great conversations.
It is amazing, and be present
Yeah.
when you have great conversations.
Mm.
I think our world goes around very distracted, right?
Yeah.
And not focused on the time that we have in front of one another. And when we actually have the moment where we become it, it is incredible what can happen.
Yeah.
I want my viewers of the Nancy Perspective to know who you are and why you stand as tall as you do. And when I've heard a little bit about who you are, I have to say it is very impressive that you do with the story you hold. So share a little bit about your story and why you chose to sit here with me today.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a great big story, but I mean, most recently, I think people know me and my story because my son tragically passed away from a fentanyl overdose 21 months ago. And that is a tragedy that a parent is either going to die from, and many of our parents are not doing well in this situation, or you somehow take that grief and that anger and you start helping other people, and that's how you survive. And that's what I chose to do. If I hadn't, I don't think I'd be here right now. I formed a group called Guardians of Recovery, and that group is a national organization now, nonprofit. And I just spun into action. How can I be there for people, parents who went through what I went through? How can I help other people in addiction? How can I support and deal with all the loopholes that my son Ben fell through, the cracks in the system that now have us where we are in Canada today, which is 50,000 Canadians dead from illicit drug crisis. And think about the fallout of that, the families, the siblings, the brothers and sisters, the aunts and uncles. Like it's impacting all of us. So not only do we have an addiction crisis, but we have an illicit drug crisis where people are, being exposed to very, very addictive, lethal synthetic chemicals like fentanyl and even stronger drugs coming out now. And it's stealing our kids. In the last couple weeks alone, we've had a 17-year-old die, 2 14-year-olds, and just last night, a shootout. All about drugs. So, as a mom who lost my son, Ben was, this can happen to anyone. Ben was an honors with distinction student in grade 7. And he, had his whole life ahead of him, and he could have been anyone. He was brilliant,
Mhm.
brilliant mind, and he got addicted to the drugs that are out there these days. The weed that's out there is not like it was
I know.
30, 40 years ago. Now it's like 25%,
Yeah.
30% THC. It's blowing kids' brains out, and we have 4 times more psychosis from just weed alone
Oh.
right now with our youth. So, understanding how many Canadians were impacted, I knew we had to raise a national voice.
Yeah.
I knew that we had to create a national organization, and I knew we had to fight to restore the culture of our country.
I just wanna look at you and be in this moment of I don't know how I have 2 girls that are similar to your son in this moment, and it's a moment where you take a lot of gratitude for the moment,
Mhm,
and all I wanna ask you is how does a human do all of those things and feel what she's had to feel and still sit here and speak so peacefully as you do?
mhm.
How do you do that? How do you rise? Because I can tell you I don't know.
Yeah, and we have a lot of parents not making it through, that are just as sick and may even die before their children do. So, Guardians of Recovery helped parents, and it also helped people with addiction. So, I get 2, 3 calls a day of parents going through hell with their kids on death's door. And how do you help that person? Well, you're in a situation where you don't really have any other choice.
Yeah.
But that's not the full story of me. My full story started my kinda understanding of the world as we know it, I guess, started a lot to do with my upbringing. I was very fortunate to be able to travel the world with my father's work. He worked at the United Nations, so I grew up in Africa, Thailand, Fiji, and very interesting places like this. So the world was really my home. I understood the world from that
Mm.
perspective. But the thing that really defined my true understanding of death and life after death was when I had a, I don't know if I'd call it near death experience because I died and
Wow.
came back. That's the reality in that situation.
When
So,
was that?
so I was 23,
Yeah.
and I it was the birth of my first child, Meg, and I was married at the time to Frank, and I had gone into labor, and it was really, really torturous, long, very long labor induced. I was 2 weeks late, so there was lots of things lining up going wrong, and my doctor, Robert Woodland, came into St. Clair's Hospital and took one look at me Sunday morning and said, "Oh my gosh, Tina, like, get her in for a emergency C-section right now." And I was like, "Put me out. General anesthesia, whatever it's gonna do, whatever you can
Yeah.
do to stop the pain," because I had back labor, and I had been in labor for more than 24 hours now at this point, and I felt like I was dying. I actually did feel before I went into
Mhm.
surgery that I was dying, and by the look on his face, he thought I was dying too. So they put me into under general anesthesia, and I went into anaphylactic shock, and I
Oh.
flatlined right there on the table.
You just sent shivers down my spine. Okay, keep going.
So
I just need to take a moment here.
so then, uh, you know, my perception of death was something to be feared up until that
Moment.
moment. And all of a sudden, when I flatlined, I realized that I was coming up out of my body and I was seeing everything. It was like code blue in the hospital. There was doctors and nurses running everywhere. Everyone was frantic because they thought they were going to lose me and the baby.
Yeah.
Someone jumped up on my chest trying to get air down my lungs. They couldn't intubate me because they couldn't get the tube down my throat. So nothing was working. Everything was shut down. I had no heartbeat, nothing, no autonomical system. It was flat. And everyone was in a panic around me. It was like absolute bedlam, and I was here floating out of my body. And it was the most beautiful experience because um, once you come out of your body, you lose the body is restrictive,
Yeah, the body
right?
is restricted.
So we're restricted in time and weight and gravity and all of these restrictions. We don't even realize it.
That's
And
right.
then when you transform into like energetic form, you have this whole new sense of, my gosh,
Free.
it is a freedom for sure. And even though it was kind of unfamiliar to me,
Yeah.
intuitively, somehow I knew that um, everything was okay and everything was peaceful and everything was beautiful. And so I floated up and I remember going up and thinking, okay, where am I going? Right. And then I quickly got my sense of navigation and realized that my intention was controlling what I was experiencing. And I looked over to the side. I saw my whole entire funeral. I saw my funeral, my husband, he was crying at my funeral. And I saw all the people, he was sitting in the front row. And I experienced in that moment that plane or that sphere
Wow.
of what it would be like if I decided to die at that moment. I knew explicitly that it was a decision.
I've heard that, but wow, I'm just
And then,
I didn't know this is where we were going today, and
no,
great.
I
I'm
didn't
just
either.
well, you know what? You keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
I'm just
no. But it has this experience has influenced my decisions in life, mostly because my relationship to death is has changed.
so you saw one side. I want you to go
So
back to. I want the
yeah,
whole story. You
so
just keep going. I
so
didn't mean to
I could
interrupt you.
see my funeral and I could see all of these different outcomes as to wherever I wanted to go. And I realized then in that moment that intention was my navigation compass. So whatever I intended, I would do. And I was like, okay, well, if that's the future, show me the past. And I started unraveling, almost like filing cabinet, the past lives that I had come from singing and all these different destinations. And I just had this all knowing. It was like the universe just went, here and now, you know everything. This is all a part of life's rich pattern.
Wow.
And it was an understanding that there's no morality, there's no right and wrong, um, there is this balance to everything. And then all of a sudden, I realized, oh, I'm having a girl. Her name is Megan. I knew her, who she was, and I knew what she looked like, that she had dark hair. And I was like, I could choose to die or I could choose to come back for her. And in that moment, I made a very clear decision that I was going to come back for Meg. I didn't know why at the time, but I made that definitive decision to come back for her. And as soon as I did, boom, like that, I was right back in my body. And it was just like, and then I woke up with such a shock. I was like, Jesus Christ, I thought I was fucking dead. That's what I said. That's what I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on your
You
show.
are allowed to. You
Oh.
speak whatever the words you need to get.
Oh,
Wow.
that's exactly what happened. And everybody burst out laughing because they thought I was dead. And everybody was like, oh, thank God we got her back, blah, blah, blah. And I was so in tune with what was going on. I was like, the first thing, if you want to get those tubes down my throat, take the pillow out from under my head because it was obstructing my
Oh
airway.
my goodness.
And I started telling them all what to do, which,
Yeah.
typical. And
Typical of the woman that
Typical of
woke
me.
up from being dead.
Yeah. And knowing what had happened, then I was going to get a C-section. And so they said, your husband can come in now and be with you because he couldn't while I was in general anesthesia. He had no idea what just
Oh
happened.
my goodness.
So Frank comes in. I said, Frank, I just died and came back. We're having a girl. This was before you knew the sex of your child. We're having a girl. her name is Megan." And he was like, okay, whatever you say."
Wow.
And I told him all about her. She was gonna have dark hair, etcetera. And sure enough, within a few minutes, I had my C-section, and there was Meg, and there was all of these, variables, which I knew from her. She is not like, she is my soul child. And, it wasn't until she was 15 that we knew the real, full extent of why I came back, but her dad passed away from brain cancer when she was 15, and so
Wow.
I didn't fully see the picture at that time, but I guess somehow that was, in the Akashic records, I suppose.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so from that day forward, that was a life-defining moment for me. I wrote
Uh,
about it. I wrote, 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 wrote. I kept telling everybody, all my family saw nurses and stuff. They're like, "Ah, that's just the medication." I was like,
yeah.
"No,
No.
it's not the
No.
medication. I had a death experience and I came back, and the context from which I lived my life at that point was completely gone. Everything I thought I wanted, the house, the white picket fence,
Yeah.
the this, the this, the this, that all disappeared. And I went on this spiritual journey of understanding things. And I went through books and spiritual leaders and studied religion. And I've read about 4,000 books or more. Just that was my companion in this conversation because nobody else was having it with me.
I agree. Well, I find, first of all, thank you for saying all of that out loud. I don't have a lot of words, and it's rare for me not to have a lot of words because I'm mesmerized by the journey that you've been on. And yet I resonate with a lot of what you said. I've never died, but I
Mhm.
feel like there were many moments that I lay in a meditation so deep
Yeah. It's
that I felt what you have felt and seen moments of it and had those wake up calls as well. And you validating really transforms this moment for myself and probably for others that have felt a little bit of what you felt.
And I do think we get glimpses of it,
I believe that.
at moments in time. It could be doing a hike and just hitting that moment in time on that hill on the mountain. Music brings it to you.
Yeah.
Having sex. There's all kinds of moments that are just like minuscule touches where you can like just actually teleport in a
Yeah.
second to, a place that is not your current existence.
Yeah.
And if we're just aware of it, we can catch them more often and
Yeah.
get in tune with them. And people try to define happiness. Well,
Yeah.
actually, that's happiness for me is being able to be in tune with this, beautiful, wonderful, mysterious world that we live in that is always, working in our favor, to have us heal and grow and learn and expand our consciousness.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I don't, I've read a lot of books as well. I would not say the amount of books that you have dove into, but Steve Jobs and his commencement speech, I don't know if you've ever watched that. It's a very pivotal thing in my brain of what he said, because he said there are many moments in life that you can sit and attempt to look forward, but you can't see what's ahead. But there are many pivotal moments back in your life where you connect these dots to the person that you've become and
Hmm.
why it all had to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And if you take those dots and make the shifts,
Hmm.
then there is a life ahead of you that is right in the now, that is an incredibly powerful opportunity.
Absolutely, and beautifully said. And for me, I guess, in how I survived dealing with my son's death was I did connect the dots. And if someone asks me, why did this happen to Ben? I firmly believe that Ben gave his life for the transformation of addiction and mental health and addiction, and as me as his conduit of voice, that this is something that was predetermined long before
Yeah,
he ever got to this planet. Now that's gonna be hard for some people to wrap their head around,
I bet.
but and some people think that this conversation is completely Lulu,
Yeah. They're
but
not our people though. I don't
no,
know that those people listen.
but, prove that it's not.
Well,
That's all I gotta say. But
you know
prove
what?
to me that that's not the case.
Well, the
And
word is open.
yeah,
The
yeah,
word is, I don't know about you, but at one point in my life, I don't know that I was as open as I am. It wasn't
yeah.
that I was closed off. I am sure as you grew up in life, there were these moments that you had no words for.
Mhm,
And yet, as I became an adult and started to follow this line of society and what those boxes were, I got more in here.
mhm.
This
Yeah,
called to me, though. It
yeah,
always yelled, but it was like, no, 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 let's just keep this. But no matter what, it was always being yelled. And
right.
eventually I heard it. Is it similar to you, or have you always been this person, known it, and followed it?
Um, no, I've gone off track quite a few
Yeah.
times, and I think we're
Thank
all
you for saying
and I
that.
think we all must
We
go
all
off
must. Yeah.
track. And, if it was all a smooth road, we'd have nothing to learn, and this, after all, is the learning planet. That's the one thing we're
Yeah.
all doing here. So, by virtue of that, we have to have setbacks. We have to have, all kinds of problems and issues and suffering as a conduit for our growth and healing and evolution and stuff.
Mhm.
When it comes to Ben, um, any moment that I just need to check in, I say, okay, Ben, what do I do next? And if I
Mm.
get lost, I just say, show me the way. And, a dime will show up and he'll be
Yep.
like, oh, I'm right here.
Yep.
And here's what you do next. And so while it's the saddest thing I've ever had to go through, um, Ben is with us, like, and he's with more than just me. I can't tell you the number of times people have contacted me and said, I dreamt about Ben last night.
Wow.
I wrote a poem about Ben. And Ben's bench is so out down there covered with all kinds of little things that people bring.
Yeah.
You could just sit there and watch in the summer when people come. They come and they leave little notes or little gifts, and some people cry, some people, you know, it's there's something about Ben. He's here with us in the fog.
As you
Yeah.
said that, my right hip just lit up, and I feel when people say things that are deep, and I think you're not alone in that feeling.
Yeah,
He is present, and
he is.
I love the way and perspective that you think about him and his mission and and purpose in this world. And again, I get emotional
Mm. Yeah, it's
because
been
it is something as a mom
yeah, it
that
is.
I am just I want to wrap a lot of love around you. I've never cried on my podcast before, but I really need you to know that the
Thank
approach
you.
that you're taking to empower shift and change in this world is a beautiful gift. And I really need to thank you for being open to do that.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, I feel that if it's not my responsibility to make change, who is?
Yeah.
And I feel that if everybody took that stance, we would transform this nation like that.
Yeah. And I think this is a great place for part one to pause and take an end because I'd like to go a little deeper in the next one about some of the things you spoke with me on the phone about what is going on in the world and what we
Mm,
can do to become more aware
yeah.
of how we can help.
Mm,
So we'll pause number one. The depth that you just shared to my listeners, I have no words for except a lot of gratitude
mhm,
because I know so many have experienced moments in time where they don't have words. And I think the mission of the Nancy perspective is not to empower any more words,
mhm.
right? So thank you.
Yes,
And I
thank
really
you.
look forward to part two.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.